Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Mr. President, it is time to treat America's elections like the critical infrastructure that they are. We do not have months, we have days. Mr. President, our own government and your administration has documented vulnerabilities in election systems and identified foreign adversary threats. Voter databases, poll books, election networks, and voting technology are all at risk. The authority already exists. The national emergency under Executive Order 13873 is already in place. What is needed now is cabinet-level direction. Direction of DHS, CISA, the EAC, FEMA, the intelligence community, and Commerce to immediately execute the 2026 mitigation plan found at tinapeters.us. The goal is simple and absolutely achievable, Mr. President. Secure and reduce electronic dependence wherever possible. Preserve physical paper evidence and independently verify electronic results before certification. CISA should issue immediate cybersecurity guidance and assistance to transition all counties to hand-marked paper ballots. And make sure every electronic tabulation is human verified. FEMA should identify available funding for securing the elections. High-risk jurisdictions should receive rapid technical assistance. And Commerce should begin a foreign adversary election technology review. Please, Mr. President, set September 8th as the first deadline and make every electronic result independently checkable. This is a known national security issue. The complete risk mitigation plan is available at tinapeters.us. We still have time to act, but the clock is running. Please direct your cabinet to move now. Our team stands ready to help. God bless you, Mr. President. This plan, I'm confident, will save our country.
There's a ton of things that have been happening of late. Yesterday we had General Holt on. Today we're going to have Juan O'Savin on. And we're going to talk about what's going to happen over the next 30 days. I think it's plainly obvious that something is going to happen. And by the way, just so you guys know, the judge that issued that block injunction has lifted that block under a motion to reconsider. So it's a win. It's a win for us that the states are now starting to sue. The states are starting to follow the suit, the wink, wink, nod, nod that the Supreme Court left open for the states to have access. They didn't answer the question. They should have. They should have answered the question that the voting machines are critical infrastructure that should be treated as such. We keep talking about machines as if that is the thing that we're chasing. Let me just tell you what we're chasing, just so we're all clear what we're chasing. We are chasing our own sovereignty. We are chasing the ability to have free will, to be a free people. We're not just talking about an election system and that they elect people to represent us. They don't represent us. They change laws. They change rules. They increase taxes. Taxes right now are 56 cents on every dollar. The average person in America has at least 3, 4, 5 millstones sitting on their chest, taking all the air out of them. If you believe what happened with Tucker Carlson and what he said with the Border Patrol, we're gonna watch that as well. It's 100 million illegals in the United States, and everywhere I look, especially if you go to Costco, it's hard to ignore. It kind of makes sense. You got a lot of illegals, more illegals than I think. It's like a smorgasbord. And the American people have shrunken dramatically within our own environment, which is why you have the left and the right trying to seek some sort of idea that they can maybe have amnesty. I don't want amnesty. I want them all thrown out. They came here illegally. They should leave here illegally, or should leave here, and then they should come back in legally. You want to come back in, no problem. But the American people don't have a seat at that table. The American people have their rights stripped from them. The police just don't even pay attention to laws anymore. They're like, whatever, take me to court. Maybe we give up a couple $100,000, but that's if you have enough money and if you can find a lawyer that'll represent you. So they push it all the way to the most egregious environment. Judges do whatever they want. They act with impunity. They don't do anything related to the law as well. And I hear people say all the time, well, that's illegal. It's only illegal if somebody holds them accountable, but our system of accountability is completely broken. So tell me again how you're going to get something out of a system that is designed to punish the American people. And if you are able to get justice, which 99.9999999% cannot, the process will be the punishment. The last 6 years has been the punishment. And that leads me into the stolen nation, where we are right now. And DHS is attempting to implement safety safeguards for mail-in ballots. You cannot. You can't see them. And why are we trying so hard, by the way, on mail-in ballots? Why do they continue to say, we got to keep mail-in ballots? How about you get your fat ass off the couch, get your ass in there, and actually do something like vote. Walk in, vote in person, paper ballots. Everyone can see it. Guy with the counter at the front. We know how many people came in and voted. We can match that against the records. It's pretty easy. Easy peasy. Go ahead and play it.
With Secretary Lutnick, we are going to make our security enhancements mandatory, meaning that if these states want a grant and they want to be reimbursed to work or to run federal elections, they're going to have to implement security issues. Just security issues. We're not trying to get into anything else, but we're saying that the machines have to be secured and that your voter registration list needs to be scrubbed. We need to make sure that individuals that are legally able to vote are voting. We know that Iran hacked our state voter files and attempted to compromise, is the best word I can use, our systems where military members used to vote. So we're working with Secretary Hegseth and the DOW to safeguard those systems and protect our military voters.
Yeah, I call bullshit. I'm just going to tell you right now what he said's a lie. You can't secure the machines because the machines were designed to actually defraud the American voter. And it doesn't matter who you have on the voting list to make sure the voting list, they knows what are called zeros and ones. I mean, I could pick this apart. I could pick everything that they've had apart within 3 minutes. And you have national security experts that are out there, NSA, DNI, that would do the same thing. They would look at this and say, this is nothing. This is lipstick on a pig. And that's what it is. It's lipstick on a pig. It's not real. It's not. This isn't real. This is not us. And here, let me just tell you what's happened. The Democrats and Republicans got together and said, listen, you Republicans are going to lose power too, and it's going to be handed back to the people. We can't have that happen. We need the slave train to continue. We need to be able to feed off the flesh of the American people. And if there's accountability, then we'll have to tighten our belt and we'll have to stop giving money to all your friends. So here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to come in and say, we can patch the machines. We're going to have someone like John Solomon just get up there and say, oh, we can just patch it. You can't patch a machine. Can't do it. It's not possible. We have a problem with the fact that it's not about actually creating justice or creating a path, because the path is very simple. Hand count paper ballots in person, make sure you have an ID. You got to be an American system, prove it. There's no mail-in ballots. And we make sure that we shrink our precincts, increase the size of them, pay people from the community a lot of money to sit there and watch it, get rid of poll pads, make sure you're a citizen, and that's it. It's pretty simple. And guess what will happen? We'll have free and fair elections, and the will of the people will be heard. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, or Republican, or Independent, this should be something that is pretty easy to see. And here, by the way, all the stuff that's happening, you can tell that it's chaos on both sides, and both sides are playing to try and create a negotiation tool in the public air, public spectrum. Here's Attorney General Phil Weiser of Colorado, who went on CNN last weekend because he's trying to protect elections. Look, you could be the biggest retard in the world and know that the things that they're saying that they say aren't real. We need to protect mail-in ballots. For what reason? Get rid of mail-in ballots, get rid of the lack of transparency. You don't have to harvest them. People that can have their voice be heard, make it so that you have mail-in ballots only for ADA required and or people that are in distress and can't actually leave their home. Pretty easy. Go ahead and play it.
All right, so Mr. Attorney General, let's bring you in. Colorado is among the 30-plus states, plus the District of Columbia, that have been sued by the Justice Department over voter data. Explain why your state is resisting the Trump administration's efforts and how it's doing that.
Ellie said this so well. The executive, the president, has no business doing what they're doing. This administration continues to peddle conspiracy theories about elections. They're lies. Colorado has safe, secure, reliable elections. We don't need the federal government telling us how to manage our elections. It's our constitutional responsibility. Their efforts to meddle, to undermine how the post office delivers ballots. The president has said about Colorado's mail ballot elections that they're quote unquote automatically crooked. He just voted by mail. This whole thing is a charade. It's political games. It's against the law. That's why we're fighting back.
What do you say to critics who are concerned about election security, right? I mean, we know that the election was not stolen in 2020, but Donald Trump continues to put that out there. And for some, perception becomes reality. So some critics might say, well, if you have nothing to hide, why not just put it out there?
We don't have anything to hide. If people want to watch how we manage elections in Colorado, we're very transparent. We have Democrats and Republicans who monitor the elections. We are critical in terms of how we have these ballots. They are paper ballots that are managed and counted appropriately. I'm really proud of how we make it easy, safe, and secure to vote. We've got among the highest voter participation rate in the nation. Donald Trump should be praising our gold standard of elections, not attacking us. This administration's efforts, as you say, are part of some set of lies about the 2020 election. It is about targeting mail-in balloting, targeting blue states. It's un-American and it's illegal, and that's why we'll fight back all the way to the Supreme Court.
You have modes of deception that you see out of people, and he exhibited all of them. All of them. Every one of them. He doesn't even believe the words that he says. Conspiracy, lies. Phil Weasel Weiser is a traitor. He is responsible for the largest corruption case in the history of the United States, or the history of Colorado, currently. Christopher Gregory case. The OARC has more interest in peddling and getting rid of and hurting lawyers and standing up for people that rape their own children. The guy was sentenced to 60 years in prison, wrote a thing to the OARC. They're investigating it. They want to get rid of this because they found out that the attorney is actually a conservative. True story. And here's more, by the way. Here's Harmeet Dhillon explaining the Trump's executive order and how it can't really be challenged. But it is being challenged, and Colorado is going to do the same thing they did to Tina Peters. I'm going to play that video, by the way, sometime next week, where I have you listen to the conversation between Matt Crane and the investigator when Tina Peters was unlawfully persecuted. Go ahead and play this one.
You're absolutely correct. So there was a pair of injunctions in federal court regarding this executive order, and meanwhile, the Postal Service went ahead and drafted some regulations that would go into effect if and only if these two injunctions were lifted, which of course only happened in the last few minutes. And so now what the Supreme Court ruled in the last couple of days was that the litigation was premature. There was one by a group of states, including California, and there was another by the League of Women Voters. That was the one that was lifted this afternoon. And so the ruling by the court was that the litigation was premature, and now that regulations have gone into effect, there will be a fresh set of litigation, as you just mentioned, and the court will then look at the merits. But the court did, in lifting the injunction, make a note that the United States has equities here as well. We have elections to administer, and I think this regulation is eminently reasonable. After all, non-citizens are not allowed to vote. They have no right to vote. And so I think it's really a heavy lift for the challengers to this rule to claim that somehow anyone who has a right to vote is being impaired by this very common sense legislation and ruling that actually only protects the fundamental right of only American citizens to vote. This executive order, I should say.
So.
Well, without any further ado, obviously there's some things to come out about what's going to happen with things going on in the elections. I think all 50 states, the elections in all 50 states are fraudulent. Don't concentrate on one. They're all designed to actually favor one party or the other. You have ranked choice voting and a bunch of other stuff. But we're gonna discuss that with Juan O'Savin right now, and he's probably going to tell us a little bit about what's happening in September as well. So Juan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Good to talk with you again. We both have such busy schedules, and you've had just some fantastic guests on. So
it's been fun.
You're killing it out there. And then, I don't know, you didn't leave any meat in the bone for me to chew on. I mean, you already covered it all.
I got to tell you, it is, we keep going through these same steps and talking about the same things over and over again. And you have someone like Phil Weiser who can get on CNN and say that there's nothing to see in the elections and that they have the safe and secure elections. He didn't go to the gold standard because I think that he's been told to stay away from that term again. But he is parroting the same thing while knowing that he doesn't have a foot to stand on. He doesn't have nothing that they say is true. And the evidence is overwhelming.
Well, the first thought that came to mind when he was talking about this bullshit, I was thinking of Tina Peters. So with almost no time to spare, I mean hours, we were able to get help from one particular group over there at PPN, got over $250,000 of donations to go in and to do a recount of one location on the vote where Tina Peters was running for Secretary of State to see if, in fact, there had been some stuff that was done wrong. We sent Mark Cook up there because they announced with only hours to go whether they were going to do this, test recount. It cost us over $250,000. And shouldn't have cost us a cent. Got there, and the way that the recount was done was totally fraudulent. Met no criteria for a recount. All they did was do a validation that machines were supposedly working with a non-valid method, a non-certifiable method. So then the recount that they did in this one small area, they didn't even do a recount. At some point, that's going to get revisited. Colorado's on notice. We're coming for you. But the reason that I say that is because if you can't even do a simple, tiny sliver of a recount according to the rules, how can you do a whole election? And the reason they didn't do it properly is because they knew that the data was completely fried in that election. They think that the time has expired, but under certain federal rules, it hasn't expired. Watch what happens.
Are you at the Trump Hotel?
Yeah, I'm actually. I
know that floor.
Got a view. Got a view. There's the big guitar. There's the globe over there. Yeah, I actually, it was. I left Vegas. I don't know what it was. I think it was Monday, because I'd been here getting ready for our event, and I had to go somewhere. I'd actually left the previous Friday. I had to come back. Left, and then had an emergency that came up where people needed to rendezvous with me from other parts of the country on some court stuff. And I said, well, let's just meet at Vegas. It's the easiest for everybody to get in and out of. So they all came back. I just sent people back other places in the country a few hours ago, about an hour and a half ago. There's stuff happening that is so over the top all over the country. And as we, come into this, last several weeks till, the midterms. And, let's see how I can say it. I don't want to annoy some of our friends
Yeah.
with what I would say, but and most of the audience here knows where I'm at. Even with the executive orders that President Trump has done and is doing, and remember, we did a 17-page proposal for executive order that was on the president's desk last spring. Was actually tail end of March, and the president responded by doing a portion of it. His 107th executive order was March 25th of 2025.
Yeah.
Signed at 1:07 in the afternoon, by the way. And it ordered that all of the voter rolls be cleaned up across all the counties in the country, county clerks and the governor's supervision with secretaries of state, that they would be able to certify that only American citizens eligible to vote were on the voter rolls. They had to clean them up. They had 6 months. Not one county in the country was able to clean up and certify that their voter rolls were taken care of. So the voter rolls that are used right now, that were used through the primaries, we're just coming out of the tail end of the primary season right now. There's a little bit left that has to be done over the next few days on the primaries, and it's over with. The primaries decide who, between a number of people that get on, the primary ticket. It brings it down to just a couple of people for each office that people get to choose between. But the problem is, if the primaries are flawed, if you don't get an honest vote in the primary, then the only candidates you see are the candidates that were allowed to get through. And if the voter rolls aren't cleaned up, just that one simple part of this, forget the machines, the ballots, the mail-in, everything else. If you don't get a proper primary, then the candidates you're left to choose from in the actual midterms, often cases, aren't the will of the people, because you get bad or worse. And the primaries is where we've actually been losing elections. Most people think it's election day. No, for quite a long time, the powers that be have understood the real place to win an election is in the primary. There's less voters turn out. They're more sensitive to vote manipulation. It's easier. And then if you're,
Well, hold on a
somebody
second.
that wants to do it, you get your own, both of them your own choice. Go ahead.
So I think you're absolutely right. Tina's in 2022 had her primary stolen by a person named Pam Anderson, who had nobody even knew who she was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have less people that actually vote in the primary, what tends to happen, it happens almost every time, is that they can insert as many ballots as they want. They can create as much fraudulent ballots or phantom ballots or mail-in ballots that get across the finish line. And when we examined the ballots for Tina's case specifically in 2022, I was with her at primary night when I was going through all the details. I was with her. I showed her mathematically. I literally turned the computer and I was like, they stole this election from you. They stole the primary from you. And which led to all the other things that they did. But it was kabuki theater from beginning to end. The reason why, one, they can't run an election on the primary or any is because they don't even know what they don't know what the rules are. They don't know what the rules are. They don't know. Nobody's ever sat down and trained them on anything. It's like, here's the system, do what we say, and then when something comes up, we'll just tell everyone that you got a bunch of conspiracy theorists doing things. You're right. Primaries things are stolen, and then the same system they use, they can pick and choose anyone they want in all 50 states down from the town council member all the way up to the president. They can choose. They pick and choose who wins or loses. But the Democrats need a weaker candidate, and the Republicans, so it looks reasonable that this loss would occur.
Well, let me just, I'm glad you went through that with folks. So now let me just ask this question of all of our friends. Okay. Now, a lot of the stuff that's being put out by friends over the last, many months and even now days, a week or two, all focuses on they still want to fix the election processes at the last possible second using executive powers, as though all the months and years that have gone before where we have tried to get stuff in a position, forget that we didn't get it done to this point in time. Now at the last possible second, if Trump would just step in and just do this one thing, just involve these certain government officials, agencies, authorities, everything else, we could somehow snatch this election crisis out of the fire and fix it just in the nick of time to save the country. And the only thing that I then respond, I had Peter Tickton on the stage at the Fraud Fighter Summit back in June. And if you listen to that interview, you can go watch it. It's online. After he'd done his presentation, I went up and talked with him on the stage for a moment. And I says, well, concerning this fall election, do you think that this can be fixed in time, or is it going to have to be, like I've said, a full stop? And he starts to quibble a little bit. Well, I mean, there is things. I mean, if he did this or that or the other thing, then maybe we could do it. I remember that's mid-June. And I said, but we already have a bunch of primaries under our belt and a few more coming off right then and there. If you've got fraud in the primaries, how can you run an honest election in the fall? And now you have even more primaries. It says the only solution is a full stop and then go back and fix the problems. You're going to have to rerun those primaries. And he says, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know you're right. You're right. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Has anything changed since mid-June? We've done more primaries. The voter rolls haven't been fixed. So you're going to fix the voter rolls at the very end, but the only candidates you have are in many cases, not everyone, but in enough crucial ones, they're critical. So let me just add this one thing. I was dealing with a particular situation. One of my guys, my chief of staff, Matt, and I were talking about this morning as we were working through issues related to the Storm Summit that's coming. And by the way, there's something I'll tell you before we go that's really cool that just happened. But I said, there was a particular incident that I was directly involved in. And I put out a white paper as it happened on what I was concerned about that had to be addressed immediately. And there was a full grounding of aircraft of that particular make within the military stuff that happened a short while later after they understood what the issue was and what the risk was. When you detect a problem within operations that could, have loss of life, loss of aircraft, things like that. It could be on a carrier. For example, we were talking about a particular incident that both Matt and I were aware of on one of the carriers that he worked on. And you'll do a complete check of the flight deck for everybody goes shoulder to shoulder, walks the entire length of the flight deck to make sure you don't have FOD, some kind of debris that could take out an aircraft taking off or landing. In this particular situation, there was something that they were looking for that they knew was missing. So the captain went and did that 3 times on the carrier deck. The third time they found it. And it, first 2 times you didn't see it. But you had to have a full, everything else stops. Nothing else is moving. We're going to do a complete, pause, stop, full stop, figure out what the problem is, figure out if you've identified all the issues. I was on a friend's helicopter couple years back. Very, very wealthy person. And we had flown on the entire border, Mexico to the U.S., and stopped and talked to sheriffs in various places and examining the border stuff. And we got back, they were dropping me off at a particular airport before I would go to this other thing. And I had the pilot there. And I just happened to ask him, I said, shouldn't we do one more walk around on the helicopter because we've flown so long today? And before you go back to home, because that's still another 45-minute flight, would you do a complete walk around? I say, I'll do a cursory look, but I don't normally do that. I'll do that when I get back and complete everything because I think we're fine. And this is a very expensive helicopter. And so I says, well, why don't you show me what you would look for as we go through? So he's pointing out, well, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. We get to this one thing on the, this is one of the ones that has a ducted fan on the back. And so he's telling me that we look for stress crack and in this blade route. And because I crew chief on one of the fastest, probably the fastest jet car in the world, I understand these things. And so I'm looking at it and he said what he was looking for, and he's on to the next thing. And I kind of stood there and looked at it. I looked closer and I said, oh yeah, I see 1, 2, 3, almost every blade had a stress crack. It was very, very minute. And I called him back and he says, is that what you're looking at on the stress cracks? And I get my phone up there, take a picture of it, and he's looking at it, and then I'm blowing it up on the phone. He's like, oh shit. And yeah, helicopter's grounded. When they got back to the manufacturer, they had the repair on that helicopter was like $600,000. And every single thing in that area, and then some other areas, I found other stuff that had some maintenance required. But you had to pause and have a different set of eyes. He had probably seen that and not seen the problem and walked right past it. When they looked at it, they said that those probably were 20 to 50 hours old since they had started, and they were on every single route. He never saw it. I actually think he didn't have near-in vision because he'd had an eye operation, and so he wore glasses to read, and he wasn't wearing his glasses when he walked around that helicopter, so he needed a different set of eyes. Elections are not that much different. And at this moment in time, with the national security at stake, that people could continue to be in power or get into power who do not have the best interests or the Constitution in mind, the contract between the American people and their government. They have their own monetary interests, political business interests, et cetera, in mind to feather their own nest. At this moment in time, knowing what we know about the problems in the primaries all across the country, people screaming bloody murder all over the country, you're not going to fix it between now and Election Day. You are not going to be able to do anything of substance to fix it before Election Day. You can do cabinet people, you can do all the various government people on, even, we're going to go to paper ballots. No, you're not. The reason you can't is you can't certify at this late hour. You cannot certify across the nation at this late hour a hand count paper ballot. And even if you could, the problem is that I have to send a call to outer space there. The problem is, even if you could at this late hour, you've already got fraud in the primaries. You can't fix those primaries right now. You're just going to go ahead and put people into office that you know didn't get there through a legitimate primary ballot vote. Are you kidding me?
So Juan, I think we have to. But by the way, I got to tell you, over the last 3 weeks, I've gotten incredibly calm, because I've already smelt the dirt. I already know what comes next. Right? I've gotten to that point.
I love the way you put that. Okay.
I've already gotten to the place where I'm okay, right? I mean, but God, I think God is going to do some incredible things. I think President Trump is. I feel like the next 30 days are going to be revealing in a way that we never thought would be possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the elections are fraudulent. We know that there's kabuki theater. You have people that get on TV and they can't even hold it together. They show the signs of deception, like you just saw with Weiser. And but here's the stark reality. I can't go anywhere without talking to Democrats, Republicans, Independents. I walked into a store just yesterday, and a guy walks up and he shook my hand and said, "Joe Oltmann." And I said, "Yes, yeah. What can I do for you?" He goes, "I'm a Democrat," and I was like, "Okay."
And you're waiting for the other foot fall. Yeah, we get slapped or what? Yeah.
And he goes, "But you're right about the elections." And I was like, "Listen, look, you can hear." He goes, "I don't believe you're extremist." He goes, "I believe you're an American." And I was like, "Well, thank you." And he goes, "And I listen to your podcast. So, Robert, I'm just saying hi to you right now. Thank you. Thank you for the time you took and the civility." He goes, "We disagree on things." He goes, "We disagree on," he said, "We disagree on abortion. I think it's a woman's right to choose." He goes, "But the absurdity of making it so you can kill a baby at 9 months." He goes, that's sick. And I asked him this question. I go, "What do you think the reason was? What do you think the reason is that they won't pass the Save America Act at 85% of the country, Republican, Democrat, Independent, want it? Why won't John Thune and why won't they do it? Why do they keep standing up saying they're protecting the American people when 85% say we want it?" He goes, "They're all in on it." And I was like, "You believe that?" He goes, "I have voted Democrat for 40 years. I said, "Who'd you vote for in 2024? He said, "Trump." And he goes, "And you know what? There's a lot of Democrats that did. And in Colorado, there's no way that we bucked the trend." And by the way, he's a scientist, and I think a scientist. I might have just appropriated you, Robert, to a scientist. He's a doctor. He's a doctor, and I got that from just some of the things he said. But Juan, we know that the elections are bad. We know that there's nothing they can do from a standard standpoint in order to get to paper ballots. We know it's gone too far. Well, everyone knows that. Does that open the door? And I said this to General Holt. Does that open the door for President Trump to come through with another sweeping effort that shuts down elections as they are known today and creates a standard by which we have different elections in November, where it looks different?
Okay, let me help you out here, and just so we don't lose people. And by the way, I've had the same experience with several times, including with a very well-known Hollywood personality that everybody in the audience would know, who we had a conversation over the weekend, and they were like, "I hate Trump. I just hate his guts. I hated voting for him." Because I can't vote for Democrats anymore. I just, I want certain things, but I want to be reasonable, and stuff that's going on now is just completely unreasonable. So in his mind, he was holding his nose, but he voted for Trump because he wants the country to survive. I thought that was just kind of, but, and by the way, that person's coming to the Storm Summit. I
haven't got my invite yet, but I figured I was invited. You told me I'd be there.
Yeah, it's fun. Get down here. Come on, man. This is going to be epic. In fact, I was on the phone today.
Can I ask you a question? I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Somebody tell you to keep me off the stage?
No, never.
Okay. All right.
Nope. No. It's, we're so packed with the stuff that I have. I've had several really close friends, and I've had like, oh my gosh, how am I going to fit this in? We did the Fraud Fighters, and we added another day because there wasn't room to get everybody on that wanted to be there. People have lives that can't just take off for a week, and so that was why we did this second summit so close together with the first, and we're right there before the elections. And by the way, all these beautiful people, we're not paying anybody to come speak. That's why I'm able to have such a low expense, just trying to keep it right to the bare ass minimum of cost. None of the speakers have asked to be paid, and there's some pretty amazing people. I got Roseanne
Yeah.
Barr coming. I'll tell you that. Let me just sidetrack for a second. We'll come back to the elections in a
Okay.
moment.
All right.
Here's an interesting detail about the audience that you have, the people that I get to talk to, other hosts and like that, even within the context of the storm. Several of the studios, not just one, I was talking to that are the big ones, the big ones, and related to something I'm doing with Roseanne and related to some other issues. And they said, the problem is in looking at our penetration into red state markets, we have lost so much ground. People don't want to see the movie types that we've been making. And so people aren't going to the theaters. And even when it gets out to the other forms of distribution, the various online stuff like that, we're not getting viewership. And the problem is that, we live on advertising. We live on these other things, especially in the secondary markets. And if it's not happening, we're toast. So this is only indicative of one studio, but I've had it from several with the same thing. They want to get access again to what they call red state markets in their determination. And the context is Sound of Freedom. I did something, I brought in a bunch of the podcasters and like that, only had 4 days notice, said, come on in, I'll show you the movie for free. The movie Sound of Freedom, which was in the vault at Disney. They were never going to let it out. There had been some studios that bought another studio that then Disney bought it. And it was just a movie made that was never going to get released. The person that did the last edit on the movie was Mel Gibson, and it was an excellent edit. And I told Jim Caviezel, I says, well, can we show the movie? He said, well, because of the way it is with the producers, they're allowed to show it, but we don't have distribution. Disney can't stop us from showing it, but they don't want it to go into distribution and blah, blah, blah. Can we buy it out? And so we started the negotiation. So we had that conversation on a Sunday evening. By middle of the afternoon Monday, I had determined that there was a theater we could show it here in Vegas in if we had certain permissions. I got a hold of another friend of ours who called the head of the one of the three big distribution companies in the country. And he was on the golf course at the time, but because of who we had call him, he took the call and said, yeah, we can probably do that. Yeah, we got the DCMA and the other stuff. He gets his guy on the phone and we worked it out right there. So that was concluded by Tuesday night. So on Wednesday morning, I told people across the country, and I did probably 20 shows over the next 2-3 days, and said, people want to come in, we'll cover it. We invited all the hosts like that. We had about 1,000 people here. And that was the launch off for Sound of Freedom, first time it was shown publicly. And then, there was like little conclaves of 10 or 20 people that had seen it, but never a big thing. And Jim Caviezel and I did kind of a Blues Brothers across the country march with Sound of Freedom. We showed it, I think, 4 times total. And so that got people's appetite whetted. People saw it in enough places. And then there was this pent up demand to want to see it in the theaters. And then we were able to buy the movie out, get it out for distribution. It ended up being Angel Studios, which wasn't my first choice, but it was, the people that owned the movie's choice, and they did what they did. But all the studios, all of the distributors watched what happened with Sound Freedom. And then they realized that, you had people who went to see Sound of Freedom that hadn't darkened a movie theater in, 15, 20 years. And they went to go see the movie because people talked about it. It had interesting content. It was well acted and like that. If you get right down to it at the end of the day, technically, it was probably a B movie as far as all of the
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom from a.
Well, it moved too fast. It didn't have.
Well,
It
the
did,
one
it
you
didn't
saw
have the
in
time to
theater,
mature. Yeah.
the one you saw in the theaters was 14 minutes shorter than the one that I showed. And I think that that was one that Mel Gibson edited. And that one was, I think, perfect. When you shortened it, it fit the way the movie people wanted to do it and the theater people wanted to do it, to get to the next movie, get to the next movie, get the money, get the popcorn. I think that the one that we showed was far superior personally. But at the end of the day, when you think of all the expense and minutia and sound, the stuff it takes to make a movie, it was an excellent movie within a certain budget that had great content for getting a message across. And there was stuff in there that I would have done different on some of the messaging and things like that. But that's it's not your piece of art. It's the other guys. Let him do his art. You do your own. So at some point you just kind of shut up. That's their art piece. The big thing is that it proof of concept. It showed the country and it showed the people that make movies that there's still people that want to go to the movie, but they don't want to go to the movies that they've been getting. And so now the studios are looking at, what do we got to do to get into this red state marketing? And you got to make a movie people want to go see, that has subject matter that means something, that have actors that they enjoy. So they literally said, okay, who's the actor that, they had a list of A-list actors, if you will. Who are the actors that people want to go see? And they did their marketing. And they found out that Caviezel, who wasn't getting work, nobody wasn't to hire him because he's, he was doing content and wasn't taking scripts that, they wanted. They put a huge push for him to do Brokeback Mountain after he does, Jesus. You're going to make him go out and do Brokeback Mountain, and you're going to offer him the moon.
He said no. I mean, he said no.
They
asked him to do a couple things, and he said, "Yeah, it's he basically said, right."
Yeah, but the point is that who within a studio perspective would think that that's even appropriate? They wanted to just destroy his brand.
Yeah, he didn't even consider it. They doubled.
Yeah,
they asked him to do a couple other things, including an action film that had a massive sex scene. He's like, "Yeah, I'm out."
Yeah, and so here's the point. When the studios, and not just one, when they looked at who are the actors that would get people back into the movie theater, that would want to come see it, and they have a list of these people, Caviezel was at the top of the list. You have different types of things, and they have different, is it Brad Pitt? Is it, something like that? And by the way, I thought Brad Pitt did an amazing job on F1. What a great movie. But the point is that you have different actors that people will come out of the woodwork to see. When you look at a broad cross section, Caviezel was top of the list. So they cast him in a couple of movies. This one movie that he's going to be out in November on, which is Ghost Ghost Patriot, I think it is. Ghost Soldier. He was specifically cast for that movie because people in what they term, their internal term, red states, would go to a movie that he's in. And it's because of things like Sound of Freedom, the crucifixion, things like that. They know they get a certain brand, a certain threshold that they will be interested in seeing. It'll have certain subject matter to it. So now Sony has taken the movie Ghost Soldier that Caviezel did, and they have it out for distribution in November. Then Sony went an extra step. This is really pretty unheard of for this audience. Think about this. They're not, who do they want to try to go to try and help get the community to want to go see the movie? Do they go to the sci-fi stuff like they would with, a Spider-Man or something like that, Opticon or, Comic-Con or whatever? Do they go to, even in the advertising, do they go to, NASCAR? By the way, NASCAR is about advertising, that car racing, so everybody knows. It's hard for them. They're trying to figure out, how do we get back into the markets where people have stopped listening to what we're doing, or do we advertise it, say, on CNN or NBC or something like that? It's kind of a patriot movie. So they don't really want to do it. They want to do medical commercials. Where are they going to find a place to even tell people about the movie, except people are already going to the theater? So you're not going to get new people viewing it. It's just people that saw the trailers in the theaters. So literally a week and a half ago, Jim calls me, we talk. Then the producer of the movie calls me, we talk. Then Sony calls me, we talk. And we actually worked a deal just a few hours ago. And we're going to show not the whole movie this time. We're going to do some other stuff later. We're a little bit tight on this, but we're going to show a portion of the movie plus the trailer, and have the producer of the movie here at the event at Storm, exclusive on the planet, the first time anything other than just the trailers being seen anywhere, and talk about Jim's new movie. Well, we're also doing Dark Horse, the whole movie, here at the event, which is about President Bolsonaro in Brazil. We'll have the producer from that. I got Roseanne out here. She's doing exclusive. She asked, Roseanne, by the way, she was going to show the first 2 episodes of her TV show that's coming out. They're not quite through the editing and sound stuff they got to do, and the music and all that. So she's doing a portion of her show, and then she's also going to speak a full presentation that she wants to talk, like she did for NBC a few years ago, doing it here for us. It's going to be epic, and then questions, answers with Roseanne. So it's actually quite amazing. That's 9/11. Got Tina Peters coming out here. She'll be talking what her thoughts are on the election and what the president has to do. The White House is watching this. We're last up before the midterms here. So, but let me just add this one thing, Joe, that you were asking about what can and has to be done and all that, and there's all sorts of things. I'm pretty well on the record. The only way that this works, and what people need to think again about, because you've already got fraud in the primaries, and that's a harsh word, but it's an accurate word. You already have the primary screwed up, and you can't unscramble that egg. Just like when you find a part that's failed or near failure on an aircraft, you do a full safety stop, check everybody that has something similar. When I found that problem on the blade on the helicopter, they told me that they went back to every single one of their helicopters and ordered everybody to go re-examine their stuff. And they found a half a dozen others that were in that same window flight-wise, and nobody else caught it. I just happened to have good eyes and knew what I was looking for, because, I run similar stuff on the race car. And so I'm really careful, because I don't want it coming apart and killing somebody in the crowd or something. And or a driver or something like that. Here, we have enough information to know that there's no possible way, absolutely no possible way at this point in time, to run the election in November and not have people get into office that have no business being there, if for no other reason than just the primaries. You can't, if you ran a perfect election, only the people that are allowed to vote voting. There was no intervention, malicious activity into machines or ballots or counts or tabs or whatever. at this point, because of what's going on with has happened with the primaries, there's no way to run an honest election. So how are you going to do it? You have to do a full safety stop. And I believe that's what the president is setting up to do. I expect about the end of the first week of September, there will be a security advisory to the president, a national security review focused on the elections with the various agencies. They will advise him that on multiple grounds, you cannot guarantee that the election will not be compromised. They'll probably be careful in the wording, but it will dither around the fact that unfortunately, you can't fix the elections because the elections are already fixed because of what happened in the primaries. And nothing functionally since the primaries has changed in the way the actual elections can be run. You can bring in every administrator, every policing agency, every intelligence agency, implement everything they want to do. You still can't secure and certify the vote from November. So do you wait and after the vote, come in after the fact and then say, well, we didn't like it. Well, we found all these problems and do like we did in 2020 and then have all the pressure in the world to just go certify it anyway? Put those people into office. It's after the fact. It's, trying to get the horse after it's out of the barn. The only way to stop where we're at right now is, and it looks like a coup, by the way. Well, Trump didn't get his people, so he just wants to stop it. No, the system, the methodologies are compromised. The only thing that actually is appropriate at this moment in time, my opinion, you have your opinion, others of our friends have their opinions, is a full safety stop. You cannot proceed. You cannot take the chance that you're the only helicopter with a problem. Everybody needs to stop and look at their situation. And nothing of substance has been changed from 2020. A lot of talk, a lot of Brownian motion, no precise vector, lots of splash and drama and everything else. Nothing substantive has changed. A full safety stop, and then go back, redo things, and rerun the election. It's for national security because others from outside the country, plus people inside the country who have self-interest, are manipulating the way the elections are run and the outcomes that are allowed to occur. And so a full stop is the only real alternative. And by the way, I used those exact words a number of times over the last year. I used them on the stage at the Fraud Fighters with several of the people that were there, including Peter Tickton, President Trump's friend.
Yeah, he's my attorney.
Well, he's doing a good job. We really enjoy each other's company. He's going to be there too, by the way, with his wife. So, in fact, they've given him a room right down the hall from me here at the Trump. But the reason that I say all of that is you have to have military authority to do what needs to be done at this point in time. You can't do it as command or as a chief of police. When the president's operating as the president, he's like the chief of police, looking for internal things in the community that need to be policed, dealing with citizen matters and things like that, and crooks and criminals within our midst that need to be, stopped, apprehended, whatever. But we've been attacked, and this is why that Thursday presentation of the nation a month ago was so critical. He stated for all the world to hear that it was China. We know, for example, with AWEB being run out of South Korea, that's a Chinese operation, that they're in 111 countries around the world, 121 vote centers around the world to cook the votes. Okay, there's huge drama going on in Zambia right this second with AWEB involved in it to take down a whole government. With all of that in mind, what we're really looking at here is a militarized vote counterfeiting operation. Counterfeit votes are way more valuable than counterfeit money. Orders and orders and orders of magnitude, because if you get the vote, how the money gets spent, who gets to spend it, is in the hands of the people who get in those elected positions all over the world. And it's a global threat. 111 countries, more than half the world is under the thumb of people put into power through fraud that aren't the will of the people in each of those jurisdictions. So the only correct response isn't as administrator. It's not an administrative response. It's not a chief of police response. We're under attack. The only proper response at this moment in time, with the proper authorities to bring a full stop, are not within the policing and internal mechanisms of the country. You can't correct what's wrong with the vote system legislatively at this point in time. It's too late. You can't affect it at the county clerk level. Those executive orders, those EOs, all of them have shown that the corrective action that's required, that has been ordered administratively into the system, have not been complied with. It's like the pardon for Tina Peters. The state said, well, that's fine. That's a federal thing. We run our own operation here. We're not letting her out. They're saying the same thing. It was demonstrative. The states are exercising their rights. But the Constitution is to all Americans in every state, and it has to be uniform across all the states. You can't have rogue states putting in crooks and criminals and fraudsters, and the rest of the country has to deal with it, including when they go into federal office.
But Juan, that leads me down a path that I think we have to talk about, right? And that is that the people are largely have been betrayed and they feel demoralized. And I'm sitting here watching the comments as we're talking in certain areas. By the way, say hello to the Roku. Roku has become one of the biggest boons for us. It's pretty
well.
crazy.
In fact, that was some of the stuff that I was dealing with Roseanne. I've got to take a call. It'll be about 2 minutes. Just 1 second, because we got somebody in court right now.
Okay.
Half a moment. I'll be right back.
So I want you guys to understand something, that as you have conversations with people in the community, I'm sure you're having them with people around you. You're asking the question, like, what's going to happen in November? And you see President Trump that says, if the Democrats win, I'll be impeached. And yeah, they won't have 2/3. It'll be kabuki theater. It'll be more of what we get from people like Phil Weiser. But we do have to ask the question differently, I think. And that is, we keep talking about policy decisions, and we see these people that come out and say 85% want the Save America Act. We can't get that done. You have Michigan is putting dead voters back on the rolls. You have Supreme Court saying, hey, yeah, we have to support this thing for President Trump. But the powers to be on the Democrat side and the Republican side, and this is why I'm so calm, is because I believe the people all see it. And the people are tired. The people they're tired of the lies. They're tired of the deception. They're tired of the media telling them what they have to do, and the kids can get, that women can play or men can play in women's sports, and they're tired of catering to or even discussing the ridiculous. We have fatigue. We have DEI fatigue. We have foreigner fatigue. We got Muslim fatigue. We got Israel fatigue. And we should. We should. Because the American public, as we see it, everything that the CIA has touched, they have destroyed. Everything, without exception. And if you look historically, which is what we talked about yesterday, it's hard to ignore just the amount of degradation that these apparatuses that go unchecked have been able to create. How much chaos they've been able to create, not just here in the United States, but globally. And if you start putting the pieces together, if you're more than if you can think in complexities, and even if you can manipulate AI to not stay within its basket, you can look at the fact and ask simple questions. If you're into that type of thing on AI, such as, hey, who's running the country? Who's running the world? Why is it that this, cutting off your body parts and changing genders is something that has permeated cultures around the world. And it will tell you that there's a group of people that actually run the world that have decided that chaos and destruction is something they seek. Now, if you go back to the World Economic Forum, they said they want to cut out 90% of the population. People like Yuval Noah Harari, it says that, we're going to become the gods, right? They've pushed this thing to destroy Christianity while propping up Islam and propping up Judaism, right? And saying that Christians somewhere along the line are the problem. And in the middle of all that, white people are the problem. Because white people, by the way, as most white people who are worth any amount of salt are self-starters, and we're incredibly brave. Like or stupid. I guess stupid is another word, because we'll run into a firefight, right? We'll run into a firefight. That's not to say my black brothers and sisters won't do the same thing. They just won't ideologically align for something that actually has reason. In places like Somalia, let's talk about Somalia. They have single-digit IQs. They talk about American black community, very, very smart, but has been taken every opportunity away from them and sold the idea that, genociding your entire next generation is the right thing while creating a school-to-prison pipeline. That really happened, cutting down opportunities, eliminating education opportunities, and then telling them that it's the white people that did it, which is not true. It's the white liberal. It is this ADL, SPLC, all the people that say that they're here to help. Those are the ones that are literally standing at the door saying, do not let them learn math. Because if they learn math, they'll understand that we statistically are against them while we're telling them that we're trying to help them. So I look at the elections in a similar fashion and what's happening in November in that same fashion. Just let me know when I have one back. I look at it in the same boat. Our elections they're just fraud. There's nothing left to talk about. But they have kept the argument going by debating the ridiculous. And frankly, we haven't worked the problem yet. We haven't gotten to a place, we'll talk about it, but we're not going to be about it because we know what comes next. And I will say it again for the John Nances of the world and Kardashian Patel. I want to say this very clearly, okay? We're not going to vote ourselves out of this. You can't vote yourself out of it. And the American people are taxed to a point where they have no Second Amendment. You're not allowed to speak now because they can get you for a hate crime or disorderly conduct. And you've been pushed into this position where you're supposed to sit down, shut up, slave. And it's not blue states or red states. It's all states. It's all states across the board. The judiciary is right of the court. They have immunity. Everyone's got immunity except for the American people. The sharecroppers, who, by the way, don't even own their own property or land or house. Because if you don't pay the tax to the government, they'll just come take it from you. That's the reality. Juan, welcome back.
Hey, I apologize, and I've only got a minute. I've got kind of an emergency with people preparing for a court thing here in a few minutes. But let me just say this: rather than say it as just a declaration statement, it's got to be my way or the highway type of thing. Do the mental gymnastics is what I would ask your audience and some of the other great podcasters that are out there, et cetera. How from a administrative side, governors, clerks, president, legislature, courts, where's the fix? We've done all of those things. We're in really a national emergency situation where the viability of the nation is on the line. We've been invaded. You can blame it on whoever you want to. I don't care. The fact of the matter is that on the numbers, we're on the ropes. And, I've talked about somebody that was pretty close to me that had been doing work with me for 20 years. I didn't know he was here illegal. His whole family's here illegally. He had an honest conversation with me over a year and a half ago. And I said, the only real way he wanted me to, help him politically or something to somehow fix the situation. I says, only way that I know of is you have to leave the country. You take your family, you leave the country. He had a ranch he'd been paying for in Mexico for 20 years. He'd been here for like 22 years at the time. And I said, go back, start the process, including your kids that are in college, to come back in legally because they were born outside the country. He brought them over, 2 young kids that are in college here. Go out, apply, and come back in. America's going to want and need a huge majority of those people for what's being done as we reindustrialize America. But you come through the front door, you don't have to look over your shoulder. We're not going to be not needing those people here. We need many, many, many of them, most of them. You just got to come through the front door. And the ones that are the true bad guys, we got to be able to weed them out. And you're not looking over your shoulder. Your kid's not looking over his shoulder. You do it the right way. Beyond that, the only way even there that you're going to be able to move the people out of the country, which, the number they used internally is 107,000, by the way. I thought that was 107 million. I mean, it's over 100 million. It's 107 is the number that's being quoted internally. So in the course of doing that, what context are you going to get from a normal, this whole audience suffers from a normalcy bias. There's parameters that outside of that normal, you just can't, they can't conceive of something that exceeds it too far. Yet I'm telling you that Trump is about to do something that to the 99th percentile, 9.999 percentile, people have no concept of how extreme his next actions are. And it's the bare minimum. They won't overdo it unnecessarily. It's the bare minimum of what has to be done to get the country out of danger and away from the reefs and the rocks and total destruction. And that is a full stop. Peter Navarro works for the president. He's in his office several times a day. He's right there in the White House. He's helping get the reindustrialization of American business back on track. He works with the president all the time. 2 weeks ago on Thursday, as he's leaving the White House and walking across the lawn, reporter gets to him, what's the president going to do about the elections? How is he going to fix this thing? And, is he going to call the cabinet? Is he going to, do blah, blah, blah? And Peter Navarro says, the elections are completely compromised. Well, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Full stop. And he walks away. The exact words that I've been using all along, including when I had Peter Tickton on stage, full stop. You have a safety situation. You cannot proceed as it is, and you can't fix it in flight. Everything stops. We get it under control, and we make sure we've checked and rechecked, and then we do. You want to go to hand count, paper ballot, counted where cast, no transporting it in the trunk of the police car, where magic can happen and ballots get switched out by buddies and friends. There's systems that will work, and there's systems that won't. And a patch to the existing system is already been tried, number one, didn't work, won't work, can never work. The machines were designed to cheat. So the fix is already in. Tell me any other way, and you've gone through this mentally, Joe, your audience has gone through this so many times ad infinitum. You do the mental exercises. You have to get out of the box. The only way to fix this at this exact moment is for the president to do exactly what he's going to do. He takes off his chief of police hat, he puts on his commander-in-chief hat, and he says, full stop. And we're not proceeding with the election. It's already compromised. We have to rethink all of the systems, and we need to do a pause. And I use the word pause for a reason. It helps people understand we're going to have elections again. This isn't a coup. This isn't a takeover. The coup already happened. The president just told you. Biden got there through fraud, and China aided it. All of these hosts of the mainline television approved people, they wouldn't let Trump talk to the American people. Why? Because they couldn't let people hear that, they had to say, oh, well, we'll tell you what the president said. We'll tell you what it means. No, I want to hear it from the president. They got to give you their twist on it. Well, unproven claims of election fraud. Just because the courts wouldn't, let us get standing doesn't mean they're not true. It means that the courts, a lot of them are in on the fix. So at the end of the day, the only way we get this back under control, it's an attack. An attack on the vote is the same as a nuclear attack. It's a weapon of mass destruction. And if you don't believe that, I would offer for consideration. Trump wouldn't have allowed what happened in Ukraine. You have millions of deaths in Ukraine. You could have blown up Ukraine with a couple of nuclear bombs and not killed as many people as have already died in that conflict. Trump wouldn't have let that happen. And that did happen because of who was in power here in the U.S. at the time with the Biden stuff. So, and by the way, just last thing, and then I apologize, but I've got to fly. I've got something cooking in the background that's urgent. Trump isn't going to declare a new emergency in what he's about to do. The emergency that's still in play that virtually nobody fully grasps or understands is March 13th, 2020, he declared a national emergency related to COVID.
Yeah.
March 15th, he sealed up Cheyenne Mountain. Biden came in later and said, oh, the emergency is over, it's all clear and all that. Well, within the context of the way that Trump is working right now and the way that the 54 code is related to bringing on nuclear deterrence and options, including continuity in government, COG, which is what Cheyenne runs off of within those authorities. At the point that the president switched hats to commander-in-chief and declared a national emergency, when he left Cheyenne, just so you have context, after declaring the COVID emergency, he said, it may be that America has just been attacked. He said we, but America. It may be that we're already at war and don't realize it yet. Therefore, out of an abundance of caution, I apologize, I had a call coming in. Therefore, out of an abundance of caution, I'm sealing up the mountain. We may be at war and not realize it yet. Well, when President Trump declared to the world on Thursday night a month ago that China had attacked us within the elections, he was making a declaration that we are, in fact, in a state of war. And in the way the 54 code is written, once the national emergency was declared by Trump, you could not have anybody but the commander-in-chief stop that emergency. And they did not transfer power for the purposes of nuclear and beyond to Biden. That's why Mar-a-Lago happened with the raid, and they were looking for the biscuit, and they never got it. Trump memorized it. He left it at Cheyenne Mountain. That's why he did the cognitive thing out in the open in spring of 21 after he'd already left office. Other stuff that I've talked about in depth with other shows and other places, people probably already heard it. But with that in mind, the emergency that's in play is the COVID emergency. Biden couldn't shut it down. And the reason is after 365 and a quarter days, the authority of Congress to shut down the emergency expired. Only the commander-in-chief who declared it can stop it, or the three generals inside Cheyenne Mountain, because it assumes that normal governmental control has been compromised. We may have already been invaded by the enemy. That's why Trump showed the flag with the blacked out stars twice during rallies, which means you're in enemy territory. Don't trust anybody, even if they're in a uniform, because we have infiltrators. You're an occupied territory, operate accordingly. That's what those flags mean, and Trump uses the language of flags, semaphore. So he's put several things in plain sight, but they weren't obvious to everybody. It's a back conversation, even why the balloons came over America. They couldn't, with their LIDAR, ground penetrating radar, see through the dustified layer that we've been spraying between 29 and 33,000 feet. We can jiggle it in such a way their satellites can't do ground penetrating radar. So they had to get below that layer with those balloons to look at our military bases and see that they were in fact closed up and that Biden didn't have control within certain nuclear command to verify what they were afraid of. They just couldn't believe it themselves. China couldn't believe it. We're in a war, and most people haven't understood that. It has been declared, but
Well,
it
listen,
just
if
hasn't
we're
been obvious.
if we're in a war, then that would explain the lawlessness that we have and the fact that radical leftists are allowed to get away with what they're getting away with. But the people need to be able to take up and protect in a war their forefront, right? And it's not happening right now. And
Well, hold on. Let me just say this real quick, Joe, and I apologize. I've got people who are waiting on an urgent matter I've got to address real quick. Here's the deal, and it's worth you and I even visiting this again for your audience, but even letting your audience do the mental gymnastics with you. There has been the real problem is that the public needed the intervening period from the 2020 election, the J6 stuff, all the things that have happened in between, including the criminality that's occurred already through the primaries and the vote stuff, to bring the public along. You have to have the consent of the governed, and you have to have these
85%
conversations.
want this done, and they still won't do it. So there is no
It's
government.
not. Hold on.
We're
No. The number just for discussion. You have to have 80+% in agreement. They don't have to be perfect agreement, but they have to be going generally in the same direction. Real numbers, when we game it out, and this gets gamed out daily, 1,000 times a day with tiny differences. Remember, Trump said he was invited to run. Who invited him? He also said that 200 generals. They had to have the legal authority within the presidency, the office of the presidency, and commander in chief in order to do things that have happened since. And in gaming it out, you have to have 80+%, a very precise number. Real number of agreement amongst Americans is still well under that threshold where they kind of get it in a common enough way that it works. If you're below that number, there's risk of going into civil war. And America can't really survive that in the way that we work today. So that's in the Pelosi testimony from the J6 stuff a year after January 6th in the Pelosi testimony. What did Trump do after Sidney Powell and the Flynn brothers and everybody cornered him in the Oval Office on December 18th and the wee hours on the 19th of December 2020? General staff and a couple admirals came in, consulted with the president, and in this attempt to push him to sign an insurrection act, they said, you can't do it. The public isn't ready for this yet. You will push us into civil war because
They're
there
ready
wasn't.
for it now.
Well, we're pretty damn close.
No,
and I agree with you, but we can't.
I'm
take
a data guy. I'm a data guy.
I know, but let me just say this though, Joe, and just only because I'm in a rush. I wish I had more time to just fuss through it with you. We're close, but when the fate of the nation is so in peril, even an extra few weeks to make sure that everybody's in step, understands what's going on, to avoid even the possibility of degradation into civil war. You'll have civil unrest, but not civil war. If you know that you need a little bit longer so that everybody gets it in enough volume to protect us, and with the critical moves, including sending people that aren't citizens out of the country, there's a lot of steps here, including the financial stuff in the bond market, which, by the way, Besant, with what he did 2.5 weeks ago in intervening in the Japanese bond market, which is what I told people for a very long time. That's the canary in the mine shaft, because our FDIC guarantees the Japanese banks. Our Treasury guarantees the fate of the Japan and our Federal Reserve stuff. Besant started the backfill to protect that, but he doesn't have to report the numbers until November 3rd, which puts him after what I believe is going to be a declaration of understanding of the national emergency. And then let me just add this so that we can protect the economy. Let me just add this one thing. The declaration of a national emergency isn't new. I started to say this a second ago. When President Trump declared the COVID emergency, they had a year. Congress had 1 year, 1 calendar year, with a 2/3 vote of the House and Senate to overturn that and to negate the national emergency. After 1 calendar year, Congress cannot, by any means or vote, override the national emergency. It assumes that we may have been overrun as a nation. So the only persons that have authority to overturn that national emergency is the commander-in-chief who declared it, or the 3 generals. If something happens to that person, they're unable to function for any reason, then the 3 generals running the Cheyenne operation, which is actually 100 facilities, not just one. Within that context, the COVID national emergency is still in play. And when Trump and COVID was never about the common cold. It was always about the elections across the world to make us go into their digital stuff and everything else. It was always about elections. So we're in an election emergency. It was already declared back to COVID. We're just now coming up to speed. And you're right, the temperament of the nation, even in places that were totally blue, soaked through and through, et cetera, is going away. We're not quite there yet. And the next 30, 40 days are crucial in helping people to get there. I personally, just so you know, and so the audience knows, I don't think Trump pulls the pin on this thing till literally the last week of October. He lets the early voting start. There's others that, have been on the record.
That means that the elections are not going to, that was my question. Are the elections going to happen in their purest form? Are they going to happen the way we think they are? I don't think they will. I don't think the elections will happen.
We totally agree there. And by the way, just because I have to raise, we may have different viewpoints, including all of your audience. I'm saying we, us, this audience, we're talking about exactly how it may break, exactly what may be the best way. You and I, if we sat down together, I'd love to do it even with your audience and kind of mince through, well, when this happens, this happens. If we don't do this, this happens. I'd love to do that game playing. Maybe we get a chance the next couple of days. But we all know that something has to happen. You can't go forward like this or you lose the country. And so exactly what the president or commander-in-chief does next, everybody's watching. And the people like Tina Peters, these are not the riffraff. These people have done the mental gymnastics. They've been in the system. They're looking at all the problems. They have earned sweat in the game, blood in the game, the right as an authoritative person or figure to try to put their thoughts into this, to game it out, to come up with what's the solution. And so we can have some difference, but something's about to happen.
Yep,
and Trump's going to do it. And it's going to be stunning when it happens. And it's going to be necessary when it happens. Our role as citizens is that whatever precise exact route is picked is to not fight what the decision is to find ways to assist to get what's done and needs to be done, and to work together like Americans to get through this and not fight the people that have gamed it out literally 1,000 times a day, tiny nuances of change to get a winning operation to save the country and save the world. It's not just about America. It is not just about America. So
I want everybody to understand that. We're less than 5% of the population globally, right? And you've got 95% of the world to save as well. They're in the same position where the people are being treated like cattle, like slaves. It's a state of bondage for humanity is what really we're dealing with right now.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, I've got to fly. I've got an emergency that's happening, but would you get to me in the background here today? And I want you to get down here to the summit. I don't know why we haven't. I thought we sort of had that firmed up and agreed to.
We did.
And I want you here. And this is, people have no concept. I mean, think about it.
I got a lot of people coming.
People,
so
yeah,
a lot of people
have no
in my
concept.
audience
Even
are
in the
coming.
last few hours, you know, yesterday I got to walk through the Ahern with Don Ahern, who owns it, and we had a great time. They have made so many changes inside their facility. They're so excited about what's going on with the new LED screen that I bought and this conference. And then, you know, Sony calling up, hey, could we do something with you? That's unheard of. Do you understand that big companies are now reassessing how they interact with the American public? They see things and they're trying to do things. This is kind of a, you know, a pretty significant step to go with what we're looking for and not just force stuff on us. This latest movie with Jim told me, he said, this he thinks is his greatest acting job as an actor that he's ever done. And I thought the Dark Horse was pretty good, you know, and other things that he's done. He said this latest movie, Ghost Soldier, is, you know, the things he did to pull off that presentation. And he accepted the script. They said, we need an actor that'll hit the right part of the country. And so he accepted it on those terms. I think if we want to see more and similar on some of these things, people will come out, they'll watch these kind of movies, and that's what they've realized. So we want to support, you know, our kind of people, and then those big, to make this level of movie, this type of movie, it's not simple. So when a studio says, okay, we're going to work with you and try, that's a big deal. I'm looking forward to it. So you're going to get to see something that hasn't been happening in this community. How many times have we said they don't care about us? They're just going past us. Now they've had to come back. That's quite a hat tip to us as a community. And so I'm very, you know, thankful, honored, whatever, you know, the Roseanne stuff. If you haven't registered, come on. And you know, I know some people think the country's coming off the road before then. Nah, it's gonna be late October. You got some stability here still yet ahead. It's most of it's in the political arena, us people looking at the electoral stuff, but Trump doesn't pull the pin on this stuff until then. And the bad guys, they don't want to do something before then because they don't want to stir it up before they still think they're going to pull off this election fraud. So, you know, come enjoy the time. It's the last big event before the midterms. Come enjoy it with us. And, you know, you can go over to unauthorized.one and go to the events. And that's where you can register and get the hotels for less expensive and all that. So, Joe, let's talk later in the day. I got to fly. So thanks for letting me on.
All right.
All right,
bless
bro.
you. All right.
All right. Bye.
Wealth of Knowledge. Wealth of Knowledge is going to be a great event. I want to see you guys all out there 10th through the 13th. It will be a day to honor Charlie Kirk on the 10th. Obviously, that's the day he died a year ago. September 11th, 25 years. And there's some significance to these dates. There's some significance to what is why it's happening over these dates. So I'll be there the entire time. I look forward to seeing you all there as well. Okay, let's take a deep breath for a minute and talk just a little bit about stuff. Mark Elias, by the way, is the guy that I want to talk about. He's the one that is melting down right now, and over 2 decades has been one of the treasonous traitors of our country, along with people that he's negotiated on both sides of the aisle to steal the voice of the American people. You are all slaves. There is no, maybe half of you are slaves, half of you aren't. You're all slaves. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at these couple words from our sponsors, and then I'll go talk to you about Mark Elias.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Oh, our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Above all else, the effort to commandeer the U.S. Postal Service in a shameful act to turn it into a voter suppression war machine against the citizens of the United States is both unlawful and unconstitutional. That the Constitution gives the president no authority to have done this. That the U.S. Postal Service final rule is not only based on an unlawful executive order, but frankly violates the federal laws that govern the U.S. Postal Service. So yes, I do think time will tell. And what it will tell is a sad tale of an administration insistent on making it harder for you to vote and easier for them to cheat because you have an unpopular president whose party is otherwise going to lose the elections. What time will tell is that this is going to be misused and abused to create a permission structure to challenge elections that Republicans lose fair and square. What time will tell is that election deniers, advocates of the big lie, will cite this case as proof that somehow there was fraud when in fact there was none, that somehow there was cheating when this opinion doesn't say that. And shame on the U.S. Supreme Court because they know that that will happen. And they either want that to take place or they simply don't care. My job as a lawyer is to set all of this aside and to take the law as it is. We have this decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. We have been told that it was premature for the states to bring their case. Presumably, this will also result in the lifting of a similar injunction also issued in Massachusetts in favor of a bunch of nonprofit organizations. Now, that's not self-executing, so we're going to have to wait and see if that happens, and if so, how quickly. But from my standpoint as a lawyer representing parties that are injured by this, well, we're not giving up. We cannot let the cynics win. We cannot let Donald Trump prevail because people like you and me simply give up. Now's not the time to give up. It is to double down and to triple down and to make sure that we do everything in our power to protect free and fair elections in this November and for years to come. And what that means is that in the coming days and weeks, you will see more litigation. More litigation in this case, and more litigation in other cases, trying to make sure that the administration cannot cheat its way into holding power that the American people takes away from it. Look, if there's one thing you can do, is you can share good information about what just happened. Don't buy into the lies. Don't buy into the conspiracy theories. Don't let Donald Trump own this narrative.
Okay, I just want to point something out. First of all, he knows that he's lying when he's talking right now. And I built an agent that looks at psychopathic and sociopathic behavior. And you just plug stuff into it, and it's an AI agent. And I got really good at reading people, and he's basically going through the motions, very emotional. Mark Elias is a sociopath. Like, he is probably one of the most disgusting human beings you'll meet, but he's also a part of the intelligence community. That's what he doesn't tell you. here's a guy that is deeply connected to people who want to subvert the will of the people. He says, I'm a lawyer. My job's to do this. We need to fight back. That's actually not what lawyers are supposed to do, is what he's doing. He's doing the opposite of what lawyers are supposed to do, because he wants to say the big lie. And when he said the big lie, he knew it wasn't a lie. Go back and watch it again if you get a chance to. Just, go back and watch what he says and how he says it. And there's certain things that you do with your hands specifically when you're lying. Like you do certain things. He's a liar. He's a deceptor. He's an absolute 100% large baggage of dog doo-doo. Sorry, I'm trying to be a little bit more. I only tell the ADL to F off because they're a bunch of terrorists and people like Coomer, because he's a lying terrorist. And they know it. They keep you away from information. They create black boxes for a reason so they can lie to you. But see, it says in the last days that the truth will become a lie and the lie will become the truth. And they know it. They look, everyone looks and goes, well, he looks like he's telling it. No, he's not telling the truth. We have all of this data and he's walked past it. He's never even addressed it. You want to know why? Because that's what he's counting on. These people have become the Nazis of our world. Matter of fact, it's probably pretty close that this group of people that is affecting and stealing the voice of not just Americans, but people in every nation across the world. Those people know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They've been planning this. They see us as, you have people like me. You have people that are up there that fight. They may wait and they bide their time so they can go out and take them. They took out Charlie Kirk. You'd say, well, who benefits? Somebody asked me a question. Terry asked me the question this morning. She goes, Joe, who benefits from Charlie dying? And I go, the problem is that if you ask that question and you look holistically at all the things that Charlie was involved in, the things that he said, and especially the things that he did in the 3 months leading up to his death, all of the people that you could draw a conclusion to, Antifa wasn't one of them. See, Antifa didn't benefit from the death of Charlie Kirk, but I know who did. And yesterday when we were talking about General Holt, and he talked about I went back and I started looking again at ballistics, and it brought me back to the Fold AR guy that gave a man named Victor Marks, where I guess they stole the gun or took the gun, a foldable AR 300 Blackout. And I keep thinking to myself, man, if anything was going to do the damage that was done to Charlie like that with a bullet, it's that. And if you check the sound, you go look it up, man. I don't want to. And here's the part that I want you to understand. I don't actually care who killed Charlie. Charlie's dead. He's with Jesus. The bottom line is Seth Rich died because they wanted to cover things up. You could walk down the line, Martin Luther King, even back to Abraham Lincoln. They used death and intimidation, and they've been using these bully sticks for a long time. The devil's been at work. But Charlie died. And there are people that became pariahs for standing up for Charlie. People that became pariahs for saying the country is not on the right track. And this is where I get into who's right. Who's right? President Trump right? He's pretty upset at certain people that were on his side, that they wouldn't have been elected without these people. And the list is long. Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, these are people that found themselves acting or saying to themselves, am I the useful idiot? And this is how I know that President Trump may say stuff about certain people, but he somewhat doesn't mean it. He takes shots at people sometimes. Or maybe he does mean it. Maybe I'm reading the room wrong. But Tucker Carlson had a sit down with the former border chief Ovino. And what I got out of this is kind of scary. And I said this before, that, after watching Tucker Carlson, and specifically after watching Tucker and walking through I watch his videos, right? So you guys can say whatever you want. You don't have to like Tucker. You can say he's fallen off his rocker. He hasn't fallen off any rocker. He is awake. Now, everything he sees is he questions everything. And should he? Yeah. And does his family have ties to the CIA? Yep. Yeah. Because you don't even get to the position where you're able to do what President Trump has done unless you come from institutionally a background. Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham dies. His sister becomes the heir apparent to the position, and with literally nothing. I mean, people just decided, okay, I'm going to vote for her. It's not even real. The elections aren't even real. They're not. We don't have free and fair. We don't have elections. This slavery that we're under right now, where you think that you're free, you think you can make decisions, you can make no decisions and like it. None. There's no difference between this and the 12th century in England. Only you got Advil if you get a headache, and you got some antibiotics that may or may not work at this point. I want you to hear what Bovina says about how many people there are in the United States that are here illegally. Play it.
So just to kind of set it in context, what is the state of illegal immigration in the United States today, to the extent that we know? Like, how many illegal immigrants live in the United States? How many have been deported since Trump got elected, et cetera? Like, where are we?
Tucker, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Of course.
State of illegal immigration, one word comes to mind, that's catastrophe. Right now in the United States, I've got the number at 107 million illegal aliens currently residing with impunity, I might add, in the United States today.
107 million?
107 million, 1/4 of the population. We've got 330,000 approximately American citizens. Add another 107 million onto that. I think you can look around in any state, any region, or any city in the United States, if you're just a regular American citizen, and say, well, you know what? There's an awful lot of illegal aliens and foreigners in our country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different country because it's got a completely different population, and you're discouraged from saying that for some reason. People are bullied into silence on the question, but I mean, it's not the same country. It's not even close. And, you know, better in some ways, worse in a lot of ways, but it's totally different. And I assume that was mostly because of legal immigration, but 107 million illegal?
Illegal, the ones that came right across that border, and not only over the past few years under the Biden administration, but
So we look around and we feel like we're forgotten. You can't go to a Costco and feel like you're an American. It looks like little India. And look, I don't care what you look like. It's not what you look like that I care about. Are you speaking English? This is an English-speaking country. And no, you got big bok 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 happening everywhere. And that's okay too. You can speak that language. But then most of them can't speak English. And here's what happened when I went to Costco. I decided I was going to mosey over to the little cash register deal. I was watching her, and I reached over and I looked. And there's a Pakistani, whatever he was, Indian. But I looked over, I got over there. There's a tax line. The tax line said 0. And I looked at their cart. And they got like clothes for the kids and everything else. Everything's tax-free. I look over again, and I'm like, So I went to Costco again because I needed some more pretzel bites, just so you know. There's peanut butter pretzel bites. So I went to Costco again. By the way, I've never been in Costco where someone didn't walk up and give me a hug or say hi to me. So if you see me in a Costco, it's okay. You don't have to give me that weird look. Just walk up and say hi. I can't go into a Costco without somebody saying hi. What's up, Joe? I'm like, okay. Actually, I was in the back in the meat department. The guy looked up when he was in the meat department. I was just picking up some stuff. I was like this. He goes, what's up? I was like, hey, what's going on, man? How are you? And he goes, what's up, Joe? By the way, this podcast is not just for white people. And it's not even for just Republicans. Lots of Democrats that listen to me. Some hate me. I mean, like, Eric Coomer listens to me just because he can figure out how many times I say Eric Coomer, Eric Coomer, Eric Coomer. Hey, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. Well, that sure did happen in 2020, didn't it? And since then, since President Trump was elected in 2024, we're on a roll. We've lost everything. Why? Because they're just stealing elections like crazy. Elections aren't even real. They're not even real. They're rigged. I mean, look at Virginia. I look at there's just so much. There's just so much. Like it doesn't even, it flies in the face of. I mean, look at Spencer Pratt. The even math is not even mathing anymore, and people are just like, oh, everything's fine. It's totally not fine. But every time I go back in there, and I went back into the Costco, just get back to this, and I would just decide to walk back around again. And I look at the screen, different couple. It's not the same bebop, bop, Punjabi Bob. Not the same one, different one. I look back over that because you have the screen on one side and you got the thing on the other. I look over, and again, I chose to get behind someone that had a lot of stuff on their deal, like jackets for Punjab Bob's Jr. and all that stuff, and they got like sodas, and then they have food, and spice. I mean, look, it looked like a smorgasbord, right, of stuff that they had. I think they had like a karaoke thing in it. And I look over, and there's a tax line, $0. Not only do these people come here and they take everything from us, but they don't pay taxes. They don't contribute anything to society. And the people that do contribute are the Americans, people that have been here generationally, that treated like secondhand citizens in their own country while they're told you're on stolen land, and all the other horse shit that gets told by retards and whatever you want to call the rest of these people that are terrorists in our society, that steal our elections and do these things. No taxes. So every time you go to pay taxes, you pay taxes for everyone, because you're the one carrying the weight of 100 people in your community. You think you're 56 cents on the dollar is about the 56 cents. It's not. It's about taking everything from you and giving you nothing in return. No promise of anything. Here, Social Security will give you a couple $1,000. You paid into it for 80 years, put in millions of dollars. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Here's Greg talking about how a young person once told him that young people don't know America.
Well, everything was different. We finally had hope. You're not getting that now from people that are actually up against illegal immigration, most especially, and this is key here, our young people. Those young conservatives, wow. Now there are a bunch of individuals that are seeing this. I get more comments and more rhetoric from them than anybody I have ever seen. Yeah. They are not happy. Their future, they understand, is being taken away. It has been taken away. And Tucker, something very powerful here. One of those young conservatives came up to me and said, we've only heard stories of America. We've only heard the story of America. I'm like, what do you mean, the story of America? We are America. There's no story. He goes, we don't know what America is. People like you tell us what America, people like Tucker say, this is what America used to be like. We've only heard the story of America. That was the most powerful thing I've ever heard. Being a Border Patrol agent, is this young person that doesn't even know what real America is, because it's been taken from them. A lot of it through illegal immigration. And, they better wake up. Some of these people that have betrayed us, some of those gatekeepers that I just talked to, better wake up, because there's a lot of pissed off people out there, especially the young. They did a big part in ensuring that there was somebody in office that would take care of immigration. Very unhappy campers right now, and I don't blame them a bit. They should be unhappy, and they are sharpening spears, dancing around the campfire right now.
They have every reason to.
They have every reason to. They have every reason to question what's happening in our country, question what's happening to the opportunity that should be afforded to them. It's not. Where have we come to? What does America look like now? So let me just give you a little bit of you have women that are lining up to support other women who are strangling, stabbing, burning their babies. That's a real thing. Then taking videos of themselves beating their own child. acting like the world is coming to an end because their child is crying. And I just want you to know something. These people are cowards. They're trash. They're evil. And you say, oh, no, Joe, they're mentally ill. No, they're garbage. They're weak, pathetic people that, by the way, would have fallen in the gap if you didn't have the sign that said mind the gap. They would have got hit by a turnip truck if you didn't say look both ways. Natural selection would have made it a whole lot easier for society where we wouldn't have people like Kyle Clark who are team evil, because they would have been taken out long before they actually got to that position. So it's right. The young people don't know what America used to be. It didn't know about the fact that if you went out and did something to somebody in society. Look, I grew up where I grew up, man, we solved it in the streets. We were good. Let's get in a fight. Let's throw down. I'm all about that life. Why? It's just it's America. It's America to literally have strength. And when your baby's crying, and I remember my daughter crying, I remember my son crying, they would be sick, they'd be upset. And you could say a lot of things, but my children could never get me upset. They're crying, they're upset. Daughter's got 102 fever. All it made me want to do is do whatever I could to make them feel better. I remember at 1 o'clock in the morning, and my daughter is a year old. I'm standing in the shower. She's crying. She's upset. She's got a fever. Maybe she was a little older than that, year and a half old. And her fever is like 101, almost 102. And I stood in the shower for hours because the shower brought down the temperature. She's crying in my ear, and all I kept thinking to myself, and I've seen parents that have to walk away from their babies. I had a friend that shook his baby so badly it caused brain damage. He stayed my friend for about 15 minutes. I wanted to choke the shit out of him. True story. I'm like, you could have just put the baby down. The baby can cry. You walk in another room, take a deep breath, and then come back in. But that's not what happens. And now we've normalized the fact that women can say, oh, I know how she felt about strangling her baby. You pathetically weak piece of shit. And now there's stories of men that are getting ready to get married, and they find out that their fiance, a week away from being married, find out their fiance actually supports this diabolical woman that strangled her kids. And he's like, yeah, I'm not marrying this witch. I thought we had a difference of opinion. Why would I'm going to have children with you, and you feel for a murderer? Oh, fuck off. That's the reality. Men are starting to wake up. You need to understand where we are, 20%, 30%, 50, or is it 58%, 51% of America, 54%? Hold on, I need to find this out. Let me do this really quick. I need to pull my notes on this. Okay, over 50% of the American people can't read past the 6th grade level. You want to know why? Because you got a bunch of Punjab Bobs and you got a bunch of retards that live here. And they've destroyed the education system in the inner city. And they've said, hey, we're here to help you. It's the white people in the suburbs that actually have an education. They're the problem. You got women that are, I mean, you can walk down a list of the things that these retards like Mark Elias are putting in front of you. Everything's normal. No, everything's normal. Men think that they're women. No big deal. Have them compete in women's sports. Marginalized, normal, straight women. And the only people that don't support that, like you look at the WNBA, man, you know what that is? That's like they should call it like the Devil's Basketball Association. Because you get someone that's actually a good person, Caitlin Clark, Sophia Cunningham, they're just ostracized. And you got these I don't even know what you'd call them, disgusting people. And those are people that, I mean, it's like the woman that killed her babies. It's there's somewhere along the line it's acceptable. Do you not see it? Does anybody see it? Is this just me? It must be just me. And now kids getting out of school have no possibility of buying their own home. How are you going to buy your own home? Hell, you can't even, the people that own them can't even sell them. I mean, interest rates are through the roof. If you wanted to destroy a society, we're on a pretty good trajectory. We're not in a good place. And you'd be hard pressed to figure out that you can get out there and take care of business. I'm going to show you something really quick. Political violence has become normalized. Everything that would be is shouldn't be. And there's two videos. There's a video I want you to, this is in Denver, okay? So you got the mayor of Denver and you got the attorney general, you got everyone else talking about the fact that they don't want to disenfranchise people for voting because, you know, because they want to continue this. I want to show you what is happening in Denver, in one of the most prominent parts of downtown Denver. I want to show this to you. Play that video first. Can you play that video first? Want to play it?
Let's take a look at Mikey's Vibrant Denver for lease. I'm at the pavilions here. For lease, for lease, for lease. Well, everything down here for lease. There isn't one store open here. That's empty. That's empty down there. There's nobody here. Lunchtime on a Thursday. For lease. For lease. This is for lease too. This is vacant. This is nuts. There's nobody here. There's nobody there. Vacant. They left. This place is empty. This is for lease too. Holy cow. Unbelievable.
Do you know what Denver reminds you of? Democrats are not retarded. Democrats are not voting for these people. Democrats are not, they're not voting for these people. The occupancy rate in Denver right now is 39%. 61% of the buildings down there are vacant. But Weiser gets on there and he says that all Democrats are going to vote for me. Do you believe that? How can you look at the outcome variable and think that Democrats are retarded? They're not. They're not retarded. A vast majority of them don't believe in any of this trans, whatever you want to call it. It's not real. It's not real. A certain portion of our population has lost their mind. Yes, 15, 20%. Yes, maybe it's that high. I don't think it is. Everyone else is not voting for a Phil Weiser, is not voting for Democrat policies, not just in Colorado, but around the country. It's not possible. You can't talk to a police officer and them say everything's normal, everything feels right. You can't talk to a lawyer that says the judiciary is not rotted completely to the core. You see what I'm saying here? I mean, this is not normal, but you have people on the left, you have influencers that say they're on the right. Trust us, bro. Trust us. The elections are fine. Trust us, bro. Everything's good. Gas prices are $5 a gallon. Trust us, bro. Let's bring in outside beef while we basically shit on the people that actually have beef in our country. I mean, come on. You can't even begin to understand the institutional rot that we're dealing with right now. Rot. A little history lesson if you want to go check it. This is identical to what it looked like in Venezuela as it started to, the slow collapse turned into a fast collapse and people basically went after each other and crime became the number one thing in the country of Venezuela. And guess what they did? They did it there on purpose. They're doing it here on purpose. They're trying to weaken the disposition of the largest, most powerful country in the world. And the American people are watching as 107 million illegals are all over it. And I'm going to tell you something else that I know is happening. I said, I was on a phone call this morning and I walked through this. Mark my words. You guys think that Iran doesn't have soldiers in the United States? You think the Mexican cartel doesn't? They did. They would just push them out. You don't think that mosques have secret meetings behind doors? You think for any reason that the FBI is smart enough or they care enough or they're not a part of it, that they're not literally, that these people, by the way, I know this for a fact. I've been all over the world. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Muslim extremists. Yes, you have the ones that are stupid that use cell phones and Snapchats and everything else that they're going to get caught. You want to know why? Because the NSA, there's nothing secure. Nothing is secure. There's 20 million cameras around the United States on every corner long before Flock even showed up. And the reason why you have a Palantir and the reason you have Facebook and everything else is they track everything anyway. They already know who you are. They know who I am. They know who you are. They know what you like, don't like, dislike, everything. It's all, nothing is secret, okay? So people that say data, that you have to have data privacy, it's all a lie because the big guys don't care about your rules. Right? They don't care about, it's like paying taxes. They don't pay taxes. Neither does the hijab Bob. The only people that pay taxes are the slave Americans, period. And they're the only ones, by the way, the slave Americans, that are told to kill your babies and support some diabolical woman that strangles her babies. We're already in an upside down world. President Trump doesn't pull the trigger on the Insurrection Act and do something to reset things. What do you think it's going to do? You think it's going to get better? You think when evil's got its grip, it's going to get better? You think your children stand a chance? You got parents running away from things. What state are you going to run away from? All the systems are the same. No, we'll just patch it. John Solomon, we'll just patch it. John Solomon's probably the most retarded individual on the planet. Like if there was a list of most retarded people on our side, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, John Solomon, all the people that stand up there and act like they're smart. They're not smart. These are stupid people. John Lispy guy. And it always has to be the gay people, right? That tell us like what was the guy? Scott Pressler? Yeah, trust us, bro. We got all the Amish, all 200,000 Amish to vote. Only guess what? They don't have 200,000 Amish that can vote, a voting age. They don't even have 20,000. But it doesn't matter because you got the Julie Kellys of the world and the fiends that are out there on the Democrat side that run around saying, oh, these people are grifters and use every dog whistle that they possibly can against people that are standing up. You want to know why people are demoralized? You want to know why people have had enough and they're just feel betrayed? Because most of the influencers are just a bunch of retards that steal money off the side of things and ignore things that Tucker says, because God forbid he say that, hey, when are we going to get back to America first? And you can support the things that President Trump is doing while also pointing out the obvious and saying, you know what, I'll hedge my bets. It's what I tell people to do with faith. Hedge your bets because God, I'm telling you, Jesus was very clear. You cannot come to the Father except through me. So accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, or, face the consequences. It's up to you. It's fine. Hedge your bets on where we're going. I believe something really significant is going to happen over the next 30 days. And we're going to have a group of people that we put together, the red pillars and the black pillars. We're going to put them in there, shake them, have a bunch of people on the panel, and we're going to just let them, trust us, bro, us to death, or tell us what's going to happen in the future. And then the ones that are the doomers will be on there too. I'm not a doomer. I'm just here to tell you that I smelled the dirt. I'm still going to continue to do the things that I do in order to try to get everything over the finish line. I'm going to fight. I'm going to do the things to fight and be Captain Obvious to you. But I saw some things. I want to show you this other video. This is a video that was in LA Starbucks and had a bunch of protesters chased him into the Starbucks, and then they did something to him. So go ahead and play it.
People. You got it. Go. Hey, stop! Hey, stop! You gonna call the police now, bud? Okay. There's a lot of people here. Hey, leave him alone. Y'all support MAGA? Y'all support MAGA?
Okay, so let me tell you what I would have done to that guy. I would have popped his eyeballs out. I would have beat the hell out of him. Then I would have gone to the next guy and done the same thing to him. I would have taken that camera. I would have made somebody eat it. And by the time, but I would never walk into that situation if I wasn't prepared for the fight, number one. And these guys, this is what I talk about people that, you know, have never been in a street fight in their life. You have people that are pouring paint on you. Man, I'd make him eat that paint. I'd make sure that there wasn't a tooth left in his mouth. He would have to go see a lot of dentists and they'd have to reconstruct that dude's face. And you'd say, well, you got 3 or 4 guys. Again, you don't show up to a place like that unless you're willing to fight. But they ran and they jumped behind the deal. Say what you want. Say what you want. Say to me that I would do something different. I would tell you, just go back to 2020 when Antifa broke through the line, started break. I beat the brakes off of people, and I don't even want to fight. That's not even what it's about. What it's about is you don't let evil take over your community. You pour paint on the guy. Come on now. And how about the people that sat there and watched it? And it wasn't just one coward. You just had a group of cowards together that thought, what exactly? You're going to show you what Antifa's doing to you? No, it just shows you how weak you are. And pour paint on you. He's like pouring paint on you. He's like rubbing it off like that's okay. You don't even know what's in that paint. It could be anything. It could be poison. It could be anything. I'd make the guy eat it. Go ahead, put the comments up if you want to. We'll hear it. And look, for all of you guys to say that, hey, that you're a real Christian, Joe, let me tell you something. I follow Jesus. I'm not Jesus. And the fact that you will let the devil itself stomp on you and do that stuff shows me exactly why we are nowhere near where we should be 6 years later. Warrior Gal said, we have Hamas in my community yesterday. They had a march all through the Jewish community. We need an army of Joe Oltmanns. No, we just need an army of Americans. That's it. And I don't care what people say about me, right? You'd be hard pressed to find someone that has more. I said it today. I had to go visit with a client today, and I told him how we were going to build this entire model thing for him. And I sat there and I was like, and I put it in front of him. I was like, here's what we're going to do for you. He's like, okay, that sounds great. How long is it going to take? Right now. We're going to get it done right now. Joe, thank you for now. It closed over $138 today. Z12 pack. How much did you make? You got to tell me how much you make because Daddy needs some shoes. So I keep giving people advice saying that I'm not a investor, so I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not what is it called? I'm not a licensed professional for finance, but I give you some advice and it works out. Yeah. Sharon says, how do you stop a bully? Don't run. That was a chemical attack, deadly force required. Hey, look, deadly force or not, the person that did that is going to drink through a straw for a very long time. That's the reality. And, you know, I had this guy that sent me this death threat. And literally said he was going to break my neck and a bunch of other stuff, right? That's someone that acts like his name's Luke Thornburn. Thornburn. He's down in Brazil. I think Brazil-ish, somewhere around that. Yeah. Only have 210 shares. Well, 210 shares, you still made 30%. It's still pretty good. I mean, that's still a pretty good knock. Good job. Really good job. It's going to go higher though, by the way. I think it goes somewhere to 165, 170 in the next couple of weeks, month, and then get out. I'm going to tell you guys when to get out of the market. So on the sidelines. It's going to happen end of September. October's never been good on an election year, ever. I fear the complexity method of which this country is blown conquered surpasses the cognitive ability of most people. It ain't checkers, it's beyond chess, and tech oligarchs hold all the pieces. Diamond clarity, that is probably the most concise thing that I've ever seen out there before. That's very true. Very, very true. Surveillance cameras everywhere to see where you go, when you go. It's ridiculous. They've destroyed our community. Yes, they have. And once you understand that, you can't get upset anymore. Like, I'm not upset. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I'm not totally fine that I got hit by a hailstorm yesterday. That sucked. Anarcho-tyranny. Anyway, this guy sent me all these death threats. I was like, hey, just stop talking to me. And then he told me that I'm 5 feet tall, which is crazy. And I'm like, oh, I'm 6'2". And then he said, you're old. And I was like, yeah, that's what the last guy said. These guys, seriously, these people that get out there and pour paint on people and do the things that they do, it only takes one time. They've never been taught a lesson. And you should never walk into a situation where you're not deep, either deep in the ability to take out 2 or 3 people, or deep in the ability to make sure that you have 2 or 3 people with you that can make sure you can take out those 2 or 3 people. Good for you, Jeff. It might muffle the sound. Might do that for sure. Okay. And so, yeah, maybe this is me getting upset. This is my upsetness of watching people do what they just did to this guy. And if you're watching that and you're like letting it happen, this is that pacifist mentality. Get out of here. You want to know why we get conquered? Because you got a bunch of pussies that walk around saying that, oh, are you MAGA? No, I'm an American. And I will literally beat the brakes off of you if you try to hurt another one of my American brothers and sisters. Same thing that happened last week or the week before. I went out there, blue-haired, whatever you want to call it, was being abused by someone else that was basically accosting her. I walked down and said, look, beat it. He didn't want to beat it, so we made him beat it. And she was obviously a radical leftist, obviously. Mentally ill, probably. And I still stood up for her because what he was doing was wrong. He shouldn't be hurting another American. By the way, a block away, 2 police officers standing on the corner watching the whole thing happen. You think they were going to do something? No. Why would they? Why would they? I mean, this is what our country has become. What happened in Denver, it's not isolated to just Denver. It's every community. Every community. I'm just going to tell you that if you want to be prepared, yeah, if you're going to wear the hat, be cowboy enough to back it up. Yeah. Someone said this to me. I want to bring this up again. Patrick was telling me, he goes, Joe, did you know that when we unfunded USAID, that rap music disappeared from the Billboard? True story. I also want you to know something else that's really disturbing. And you probably didn't know this, but I'm going to tell you some things that I think you should know. 35% of the country is on GLP-1s. 35%. Do we know anything about GLP-1s? Anything at all? I mean, look, it's gotten to the point now where I don't even trust the food supply. I certainly am not going to put anything they put in my body. I'm not going to do that either. Yeah, they have lied to us about everything called ivermectin, horse paste. The media has lied about everything. 35% of our population is on GLP-1s. Food stamp programs and everything else is drying up in certain areas, which is causing supermarkets that like Save-A-Lots that service the underprivileged to basically hemorrhage. You got bodegas in New York City that are being replaced by supermarkets that are owned by the city. Can you tell me something? In what part of the world can you not envision going back to bread lines where they have done so much damage to people? Every business shuts down, people don't have jobs, and all you're left for is sitting in a bread line hoping that somewhere along the line they can feed you. Because I'm going to tell you something else. That's what's happening right now. They're doing that in the United States currently. That's what we're dealing with. I don't think that that's the case. I know that that's the case. I've seen this before. What they would do to the poorest among us, they're going to do to you. So if you think that you're going to make it out of this without fighting, man, go ahead. Keep simping along and thinking somewhere along the DOD created Facebook social media experiment was done for your own good, because it's not. And here's the thing that happens out the other side. This is my black pill moment. This is the thing where I want you to take it with you. If everything is on electronics, and by the way, I'm in tech, I understand it very well. But if everything is that environment and they turn it off, do you have any institutional knowledge that's still on paper? Something to think about. MMA, make men muscular again. I agree with that. Make men manly again. How about just make men courageous again? MMCA. All right. Sorry to leave you with that, but that's a lot. All right. Father God, thank you for truth. It is so hard to swallow at times. It's even harder to utter. It's difficult to take it all in and figure out that, or not see to yourself that it's not hopeless. And Father, yet we know it's not. We know that recognizing what's in front of us is an indicator of what we can do in order to resolve it and solve it, that we can operate in a place where we can stand with our brothers and sisters, not just in this country, but around the world. And we can do things to actually take back our community and to instill and restore you to the very walk of life, what we do as Americans. Father, we are a little bit challenged by things to come. And we saw how things happened in 2024. President Trump was elected. But everywhere we turn, we find ourselves saying, if only this will happen, if only this will happen, if only this will happen. But Father, we know that things are not happening the way it should, or that we think they should. And so we just ask you to give us the wisdom and the strength, and the perseverance to withstand all of this stuff that we're dealing with. Help us, Father, that we may embrace each other, set aside petty differences, recognize team evil, and fight against it. Help us, Father, that we may recognize the road that we're heading down is not a good one, and do what we can to stand against this evil, destroy it, defeat it, and put ourselves in a better position to support and create opportunity for our people. Father, we ask you to put a blessing over President Trump and the people in his office, the administration. We ask you to bless those people that are in positions of power who are doing good, that they may have a stronger voice and may stand up and be supported by the people in their communities and in our country. Help us, Father, to lean into you and to trust and trust in making sure that if we do what we're supposed to do and we bring things to you, that good things will happen. We ask these things, Father, humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. As I'm sitting there praying, I was like, man, this is just crazy. Like I'm listening to Juan. I listened to General Holt yesterday. It's just a lot. It's a lot going on. Susan Rice, good to see you. Warrior Gal, hailstorm. We had a tornado. Look, I took authority over it and it became peaceful. But believe me, it wanted to do destruction. It made its way to Nassau. Christians better rise up and take their authority. I agree. We ask in the name of Jesus that the devil be destroyed. Yeah, we do. Where's that Amish community when you need one? All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. We did go a little bit later. I was a little late today. Remember, you hit the share button. You're the one that is the ambassador of truth. It's really good to see all of you today. And remember, just do the things that you want to do on your side to share. And but also be the knowledgeable one. Be the one that's out there talking if you're going to be talking to the community. Embrace some other Democrats in your community, and you'll see that you have some unlikely alliances that I think are really important. And be nice to people. Be nice to people, right? People are hurting. Lots of people are hurting. Lots of people are broke and hurting, and things aren't going that great. So just remember that when you're out there. This morning, I went around and had to honk at a woman to go in front of me, and I look over and she's like smiling, laughing at me like I was going to be angry. So I smiled and laughed back like, I just wanted you to go. It's like, I'm good. I'm not angry, which pissed her off. So when she went from smiling to giving me the finger, I just kept smiling and shaking my head, raising my hands, saying, all right, have a great day. The devil is powerless if you don't give him power. right? So just remember that. All right. God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.